Greetings, travelers! We hope you and yours are doing well as we enter the second month of the year 2021. For those of you that celebrate Lunar New Year or Chinese New Year, Happy New Year to you! Thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to join us here. My name, as always, is Mike. Welcome to another video from Earthshine Education. If you're new to the channel, please be sure to click the subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our live streams or any of our future video uploads. Now, in this show, we will be talking about the moon phases for February 2021. We're going to talk about the visible planets, the planets you can see without a telescope, where you're going to be able to find them throughout the month of February. And we're also going to talk about roving on Mars. So, with all that said, let's get to it. As always, we begin first with our closest celestial companion, the moon. Now, the moon is what is called tidally locked. This means the same face is always looking towards the Earth. Now, the moon itself does not create any light, it's actually reflecting back sunlight. As the moon orbits around the Earth, the amount of light reflected varies, and that causes what we call the phases. Each phase has a name: new moon, first quarter moon, full moon, third quarter moon, some people call it last quarter moon, and then the cycle begins again with a new moon. Now, this cycle does not always line up with the standard Gregorian calendar. As such, sometimes you end up with the moon phases starting a month not on new moon. Other times you actually get multiple occurrences of the same phase. For example, you get 2 full moons in a single month. The moon phases, going back slightly into January, will be occurring on these evenings. Full moon, January 28th. February 4th, you're going to get the third quarter moon. New moon on February 11th. First quarter moon on the 19th of February. And full moon, once again, on the 28th. This time, 28th of February. Now, there are also some in-between phase names. So we've got the crescent, we got a gibbous, it can be waxing or waning. Here, a crescent in gibbous refers to the way the moon itself looks, with a crescent looking like, well, a crescent. While the moon in gibbous phase is bigger than half, but not full. Okay, bear with me. We're going to get to this in just a few moments. Now, a new moon occurs when the sun and the moon are in an approximate line, with the light of the sun reflecting off the back side of the moon. Now, as such, there is no dark side of the moon. I'm so sorry, Pink Floyd fans. During first and third or last quarter phase, the moon is perpendicular to the sun. As such, we see half of the face of the moon illuminated. Many consider new moon to be the beginning and the end, or the recycling, of the lunar phase cycle. Now, as we go from new moon to first quarter moon, the moon will go through a waxing crescent phase. You'll see the young moon, as it's sometimes called, throughout the day, and then briefly during the early evening, just after sunset. During all the waxing phases, you will notice the bright side of the moon is on the right-hand side of the moon from our point of view. In the evenings after the first quarter moon, the moon will continue to grow through waxing gibbous phase. Now, halfway through the lunar phase cycle, you'll get a full moon, and the full moon will rise up in the eastern sky around the exact same time as the sun is setting in the west. This opposition of the sun and the moon leads to the entire Earth-facing side of the moon being illuminated again. We call that a full moon. Now, the February full moon, at least in the northern hemisphere, is called the snow moon. Obviously, it's pretty cold up here in North the northern hemisphere, I should say. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're probably laughing because it's summertime. It's nice and warm. In the evenings following the full moon, the phases will go in reverse. We'll be calling them waning phases. The moon will be reflecting less and less sunlight. The phase names will reverse, with the waning gibbous moon being the phases until we get to third quarter. Some people again call it last quarter moon. And then you'll go from a waning gibbous into the waning crescent phases as the moon continues to appear to quote-unquote shrink as we get back to new moon phase. Long ago, astronomers in antiquity noticed stars appeared to be fixed in the sky, changing merely with the seasons. However, there were some objects that wandered throughout the sky, the sun and the moon being the most obvious of those wandering objects. However, the sun and the moon were also joined by 5 other objects, wanderers or vagabonds, which the Greeks called the planetes. These planets that are visible without a telescope are now known as Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Now, due to their orbits being closer to the Sun than the planet Earth, Mercury and Venus are only visible in the early morning right before sunrise, or in the early evening just after sunset. Now, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn being further out in their orbits than the planet Earth, they are oftentimes able to be seen throughout the entire evening. It all just depends on where those planets are in their orbit and where we are in our orbit. Now, we had the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn in December of 2020. And then we had that triple conjunction just a few evenings back in January. We had Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn all together in the sky. Now, unfortunately, due to the way our orbits are, for the most part, other than Mars, you're really not going to be able to see many planets in the evening or morning sky for the month of February. Mars will be visible the entire month in the southern sky, in the southwest sky to be exact. Of course, in the southern sky, we've still got the winter triangle, which we talked about last month. If you missed that, click on the January sky video. Link will be down below. Also in the playlist. Betelgeuse, Procyon, and Sirius, of course, making that winter triangle. They'll be getting higher and higher in the sky as we begin to go from winter into springtime in the northern hemisphere. But Mars is the star of the show because it's the only planet you'll be able to see throughout the entire evening, and that's when most people want to go out and view the sky. But now that we've talked about where the planets are in the sky, let's actually focus a little bit more on Mars. We're actually going to go on to our next topic: roving on Mars. Now, you may remember back in July of 2020, when we did one of our Friday afternoon 3 o'clock coffee videos, we talked about NASA launching the next Mars rover mission to the Red Planet. Well, the time is rapidly approaching where this wonderful new rover will be making its final approach. Now, I'm not going to reinvent the wording, so I'll be pulling some information from NASA's press kit. The day that we're going to be talking about actually will be February 18th, 2021. That's when the Mars Perseverance rover, along with its little payload companion known as the Mars Ingenuity helicopter. Yeah, there's going to be a helicopter, a little drone on Mars. They're going to be making their final descent to the Red Planet. Now, landing on Mars is incredibly difficult. Only about 40% of the missions ever sent to Mars, not just by NASA, by any space agency on this planet, 40% of them have been successful. Close to 50%, about half. So it's a coin flip, give or take. Mars Perseverance is only the 5th rover to attempt landing on the planet Mars. Now we have the Sojourner rover in 1997, part of the Mars Pathfinder mission. Then we had the twin rovers, Spirit Mars Exploration Rover A and Opportunity Mars Exploration Rover B in 2003. And then we had the Mars Science Laboratory, the Mars Curiosity rover in 2011. That's already been a decade. So now we're hoping to get the 5th rover onto the planet Mars. Mars Perseverance is scheduled to touch down on the planet Mars on Thursday, February 18th, 2021, at approximately 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, so that's 3:30 for you East Coasters. During landing, the rover will be plunging through the thin Martian atmosphere. Of course, it's got a heat shield, so it doesn't burn up and explode on entry. It's going to be entering at over 20,000 kilometers per hour. Now, should all go well, and the rover survives the landing process, Perseverance will be in its new home, a place called Jezero Crater. Now, Jezero Crater is an impact crater about 45 kilometers wide, just north of the equator of Mars. Now, Jezero sure looks like that it contained a lake at some point in history. One of the main questions Perseverance is going to try to answer is, was there ever life, ancient life, on the planet Mars? To answer that question, the rover is going to be collecting and storing compelling rock and regolith samples to return to the Earth by a future mission. So we're actually going to send a second mission up at a future date to actually pick up a payload from this particular rover and then bring it back to Earth. Now, once on Earth, scientists can use a variety of sophisticated instruments to analyze these rocks and regolith samples. Obviously, that stuff's going to be way too big and bulky to transport to Mars. It'd be way too expensive. Now, the most terrifying part of a lander, of a rover mission, is the landing, or what's called EDL, entry, descent, and landing. Now, as an outside observer, it's pretty high drama. It's the shortest and most intense phase of the entire mission. It begins when the spacecraft reaches the top of the Martian atmosphere, and as I mentioned before, it's going to be going at least 20,000 kilometers per hour. And then 7 minutes later, you end up with your rover either on the your lander on the surface safely, or a big scrap heap on the planet Mars. Now, to safely go from speeds of over 20,000 kilometers an hour down to, in essence, zero in that short of a time, there's a very narrow window when, in essence, you gotta slam the brakes on in a very creative and very, very careful way. This particular rover uses a landing system much like Mars Curiosity. There's going to be a parachute to slow the rover down, and then there's actually going to be what's called a sky crane to lower the rover down and land it softly on 6 wheels. It's very different from the way the Mars exploration rovers and Mars Pathfinder landed. They actually used big bouncy balls to protect the rover and the landing craft. Now remember, landing on Mars is very, very hard, so this is not a guaranteed process. We're not guaranteed to have a safe landing with this rover, so we're all going to be sitting around watching, waiting, and hopefully getting to see something really, really cool. Now, NASA TV will be broadcasting live from Mission Control beginning around 2 o'clock Eastern Time as Perseverance begins its final descent towards the red planet. Now, we here at Earthshine Education will also be live. We'll be watching that live stream and, I guess, doing what YouTubers like to call a live reaction. We're going to be watching it all together. watching this NASA broadcast, so you can watch it with us here on YouTube or on Facebook or over on twitch.tv. Now, I do remember watching footage of Sojourner landing way back in '97. Hey, don't call me a boomer, I'm not that old. I also watched both Spirit and Opportunity as they landed. That's actually back when I worked at an observatory and a planetarium. Back in 2003, I got to actually listen in on that. It was an exciting, exciting time. Of course, I watched Curiosity when it landed back in 2011 as well. So I cannot wait to watch the 5th Mars rover landing attempt, at least in my lifetime. Hopefully many, many more for your lifetime out there. As such, we here at Earthshine Education, we cannot wait to experience this live with all of you. We hope you will join us again. That's going to be on the 18th of February in the midday. And with that, we end our second sky update of the year 2021. Once again, we have upgraded this year, and we'll be able to multi-stream to YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook all at the same time. Now, please check the comment section down below for links to our streaming sites and our social media as well. We will be streaming planetarium shows Mondays and Wednesdays. Fridays, of course, we were always doing our weekly science news update and kind of open line stream where we talk about the weekly news, any current events, things like that. And then if anybody wants to talk about things in chat, of course, we talk about whatever people bring up. Now, please be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Ring that bell so you do not miss when we go live on any of our streaming outlets. Once again, we will be live streaming and reacting to the Mars Perseverance rover entry, descent, and landing, and watching and waiting with bated breath as we hope to get our first footage back from this new NASA mission landing on the planet Mars. Again, February 18th. Please stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of this video. Please share this video with your friends and family, share the channel, share your love of astronomy with others. Please take care of yourself and each other. We hope to see you in our next video. Bye for now.